Today we're going to be making the Stamp Anything Memory Dex Box. Here is an example of the finished product. So of course you can use any cardstock that you like and finish it in any way you desire. In this example, we have the background piece with the words, "In this house, we." If you want, you can also build this box without the back piece, as I've done here. And again, you can decorate it any way that you want to hold your Memory Dex cards. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is download your SVG cutting files. You're going to need the Stamp Anything Desktop or SVG and the Stamp Anything Dex Box SVG. You're going to need about 5 colors of cardstock and one of a pattern if you like. Make sure you have 1/4-inch wooden dowels, snips or something similar to cut the dowels, foam cordboard, 1/4-inch single hole punch, like one of these here, and a ruler, pencil, or pen to mark the dowels will also help you out. And I'm just going to show you what those 1/4-inch dowels look like. They can be usually found in your hardware store or your dollar store. You're also going to use a utility knife, and always make sure to use under caution. And if you're younger, make sure you have adult supervision. You're going to need small craft scissors, tweezers, glue, double-sided tape, and of course, you're going to need a Silhouette Cricut or similar cutting machine. And all you need after that is your own creativity. So the box I'm going to be making for you today and demonstrating is going to be my Memory Dex box that will be holding all our Horror Icon Halloween Memory Dex cards that we did in previous lives. So that's why we have the top "In this house we," because in this house we laughed often, love family, dream big, etc., and will be part of an ongoing series. So let's start this box. So once you have everything cut out for your box, the first thing that we're going to do, or I like to do, is get those letters glued down. So for this example, I chose this red pattern background paper that's kind of red and cloudy, just to make it a little spooky, because I was going to do this one to hold those Halloween cards. And of course, you can do one for the holidays, for Easter, for Christmas, whatever your heart desires. So with this background piece, I'm just going to slide my letters off the page here. And right now, I'm going to be using some of our Stamp Anything glue, and I've actually transferred this glue into this little bottle, and I have this cute little stopper that I received as a gift, and I super love it, and it's from JS Pink Flamingo Designs, and they can be found on Facebook. And I just thought it was super adorable, and I really like the point on this glue. So I have our Stamp Anything glue in here, so I'm going to glue all my letters down now. I also have this cute little pokey tool, paper piercing tool that is also from JS Pink Flamingo Designs, and it's got a cute little unicorn on it. I love unicorns and I love pink. So you have your background piece, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue on the word house. This is super simple, but all you want to do is get your letters and stuff on, get them starting to dry so you can continue on with your project. As you can see, I use this paper that's embossed with a little bit of gold foil. I just like the color. So if you want, you can use tweezers to hold some of your letters and to add your glue on. I'm just going to make sure that my glue is ready to go, and it is. So it's very helpful for this project to make sure that you've followed all the instructions and cut out everything beforehand It makes it much easier to assemble when you've got everything right there and ready for you. So here is my house. Now, if you wanted to, you can use a piece of scrap paper to just dab off some of the excess glue if you don't want to have it go anywhere or spread out too much. But at the same time, Stamp Anything glue does dry clear, so there's not really much to worry about, even if it does press out from behind your project. Now, if you wanted to, you could also use a brayer to roll this out with and get it nice and smooth and the glue spread out behind. So honestly, this part is super simple. So we're just going to pick up our letters, and I've just chosen a nice little parchment color right here. And again, we're just going to continue to glue. Let's find our N. You can definitely see why glue is a good option, because you get to move your letters around. And I am just using the paper piercing tool just to kind of scrape off a little bit of excess glue, just to help it. So I love this little Memory Dex box because you can make it in so many different ways just by changing your paper selection. Just like I showed before, like you can make it for spring, add a little bit of burlap ribbon. You can use an embossing folder to create more texture. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with these little Memory Dex boxes, and they make cute little gifts too. If you wanted to do a little Memory Dex box and put recipe cards in there. I totally just glued the wrong side of the letter, and I did that while filming, so we're just gonna pretend like it never happened. Thank gosh for clear glue. So we're gonna glue the proper side of our letter, and again, I'm just dabbing it off on the paper on the side. Now we have all the letters down, and this is where you can just make sure everything's kind of lined up the way you like. You can do a little last minute shifting around because that glue hasn't completely set yet, so you've got a little time to work with it just to make sure everything is in place and where you like it. All right, so there we have it. Our In This House We, and of course you can choose any combination of how you'd like to do this. Print out your background piece, any color you want, make it your own, and that is where all the fun is. So actually, what I'm going to do next is, so here is our pre-cut out topper piece. So we're just going to quickly adhere this. Now, if you wanted, you can glue it directly on. You can use pop dots. It's however you want this to look on your background, but you want to keep it within the top section of your background, because when you place your cards on in your Memory Dex, you want to know that this is going to sit underneath so that it makes sense when you read it. In this house we, live for scary movies. So you just want to make sure that you keep this into the very top section once you place it down. And this glue also does dry fairly quickly, so you don't have to wait too long, but and I guess I'm one of those messy gluers. Now I have used a crocodile just to take out those corners and make them rounded, just to give it a little bit more interest. All right, so we're gonna set this aside and now let it dry. So now to build our base. So to build our base, and I'm gonna just zoom out here, you're gonna wanna use 2 pieces to make this box sturdy. So you're gonna want 2 pieces of cardstock. Flip that around. So I chose a pattern piece for my outside, which is flowers and little spider web design in there. And then for the inside, I went with that same red color as my background so that when it goes all together, it makes a coherent inside. So when you're building the inside of your box, you're going to want to put that part together first. So all you need to do is fold your edges in just to kind of make sure that they fit. And then you're going to want to do a little bit of a dry fit here. So you're just going to want to make sure that everything is going to go in together nicely. Now, because we're building this as the inside of the box to have nicer lines, and because it will have an outside if you'd like, what you can do is these tabs can go on usually go on the inside, but when you're building this box and this is going to be the interior, you're actually going to tape it to the back because this won't be seen. So you're going to get a much more seamless interior for your box. Now for that, I am going to be using double-sided tape, and I'm just using some little cutter bee scissors here. So what I'm going to do is flip this over, and I'm just going to make sure I cut the tape to fit over all my edges. And I'm going to place it right at the top here. And I'm just going to go over. And I didn't really measure the tape, so I've got a little hanging off the side here. So that's okay. I'm just going to cut that off. And then I'm just going to repeat that on all my little flaps. Now, to make this box a little sturdier, you want to make sure that you've selected heavy enough cardstock. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm only using the double-sided tape, but what you could do is you could run a little bead of glue along there as well, just to make sure you get some more hold. Now, there is a section where I do think that glue is important, and I'll show you where that is after. So once you've got all your edges taped, you can go ahead and you can just take those pieces off, and it could be helpful just to do it one side at a time. And I just taped it wrong on video. So do as I say, not as I do. We're going to do the other side properly. But I forgot. If I'm taping it on the inside, I wanted to put the tape here. That's okay. These parts actually too, when you're making this box, this interior section right here won't actually be seen. So it doesn't make that much of a difference. But here, just for the sake of this, I'm going to tape the inside parts properly. So I can show you what it was supposed to look like. So again, we're going to take those pieces off. just like so. And now we're taping it to the exterior of the box so that you have a very nice interior corner, just like that. Because your seams on the inside, at least, are going to be hidden. So now we have that section done. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to be using our exterior section, which is right here. And this will be wrapping around our box so that we have a very nice inside and outside edge. So again, we're just going to add tapes to all our flap sections. So I'm sure as most of you have already noticed that the box assembly really isn't all that hard. And then if you wanted to make a few of them at the same time or come back and do them later, that would be fine too. But yeah, it's nice to kind of have one for different seasons. You've got the room to store them. Or you can make one that's just kind of neutral. All right, so I have those pieces. So now what I'm going to do is I'm also going to add double-sided tape right in here. And I'm going to add some double-sided tape just to the other side. And to make sure it's secure in the corners, I'm going to apply double-sided tape right along these sides here as well. Basically, the more points that your box is connected, the sturdier it will be. So I'm also now going to run a little bit of double-sided tape across the top, and I kind of want to make sure it's definitely long enough. And same on this top side up here. All right, so now we have those all ready to go. Let's make sure our box is put in there the right way. So what you're going to want to do as well is you're going to tape these inside edges to the inside so that when you close it up, again, you have a nice corner without showing your seams or your attachment flaps. So what I'm also going to do here is I am going to add glue into the interior just to make sure we have really great adhesion and contact there. So this is where I had that accidental piece. So we're going to take that off. And so first you are going to want to put on the sides with the flaps. So you're going to take those flaps off, or the little tape, sorry, off your flaps. And here we're going to take our glue and we're going to just make sure we run some glue along in here, just because I want to make sure that it's very well adhered in the side. So we're going to press along the top and in the sides, make sure we get that glue in there, and then we're going to just wrap our edges around and wrap our edges around. So you should have them adhered right here like this. Now we're going to go to the other side. And again, we're going to take that tape off. And if you've ever had issues with getting tape off or pop dots, which I have had many times, a piercer is an amazing tool. Saves you a lot of frustration. So again, I'm just adding that glue layer in here. And while you do this, you just want to make sure you have a little bit of pressure on the bottom of the box, and then you're just lifting that side up and then sealing it across the top. You want to really make sure that that tape that you put on is quite close to the top, just so you get a nice tight seal up here. And then again, you're just wrapping those sides. So we're just gonna zoom it out again so you can see here. So we've just wrapped it just like that. So now all we have to do now is tape our end sides down. And again, we're going to add that glue. So the glue is also there to help make sure that if your tape does eventually or loses adhesion over time or whatever, there's like a backup. But you can see how there we have that nice edge where you don't have to see those sides. And if I would have done the interior properly on all sides, again, you'd have no connection piece like this. We can pretend like I did that on purpose, just to show you what it would look like. I know, apparently we're making our glue look pretty now. And again, you're just folding that top side up, just like that. So what you're going to want to do now is tape in your back section, or I should say tape in or glue in, so you have the interior of your box finished. So what we're going to do is, and you can just kind of roughly see here, just take it around the back. If you want, you can measure, but I just know that my tape line is going to go right under here. So I'm just going to kind of make a little mark, just so I know where I should be putting my tape. So I know not to tape above kind of that line. And here, again, I'm going to be using the double-sided tape, and I'm going to be using glue as well, just for that extra bit of security. Alright, so we'll just remove those layers so we can get that adhered, and then we're going to start working on our back and front pieces that are going to hold our dowels and what is going to be able to hold our Memory Dex cards in place. There we go. And you can decide what you want to be your front or your back, etc. I feel like I've got a little bit more paper showing up here, so I'm just going to place it right here into the back of my box. And we're just going to make sure that's nicely adhered with the tape and the glue. And there we have the beginning of our Memory Dex box. So our next step is where you're going to take your foam core board that you have cut into size using your ruler and your X-Acto knife. And you should have something that looks like this. So the next step is to take your interior pieces of cardstock that you also have pre-cut so that they can go over your piece. And I recommend attaching this first before you put your hole punches in, just so that everything lines up neatly. And again, when you do glue this together, you're going to want to have a little bit of an edge here so you can fold it over at the end. And in the end, you're going to have something that looks like this. A punched piece that's covered and that has a nice cover right on the top, because you want to cover up that top side edge of your exposed foam core board. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add, again, I'm just going to use some adhesive tape. And again, if you wanted to use glue, you could. You don't have to use your double-sided tape. I just found that the easiest way to get this built is to use the double-sided tape with glue. Now, if you wanted to be more careful than I am when you're measuring your double-sided tape so you're not wasting any, that's probably a good idea. But again, for the purposes of this video, we just kind of wanted to go quick. Now I'm only going to put glue just a little bit on the outside edges here because I know I'm going to be using my hole punch. And I don't want to get glue where I'm going to be using the hole punch for where the dowels are going to fit in. And this is actually a really neat way to build a Memory Dex box because it's pretty simple. Because a lot of people, when they're thinking about building a box, think that it's going to be really complicated. And it honestly does not have to be at all. And hopefully this really simplifies it for you. Especially using an SVG file. So right across the top here, this is the top part we're going to bend over. So the easiest thing to do here is also just a piece of double-sided tape. But now this double-sided tape is going to go right here on this back section. Because with the foam board, it is actually hard to get a little bit of adhesion here. So this is where you're going to want to use glue across the top. And when it folds around, then you can have it hit this spot right here. So what you're going to want to do is take your glue and fill it all in nicely right across the top of the foam board. So you get some good connection right there. So there we go. So all we're going to do is fold it over and then fold it down onto that tape. And that tape is actually going to help hold it down as well while the glue dries. Want to press on it a little bit there. So there you have your cardstock attached to your foam core board. Now, of course, you can use the same color as the interior, like I've done in here. I've used the same kind of cardstock on the interior. Here I used one that was the same as the exterior. It's totally up to you on what kind of look you want to have. And remember that for the most part, this is going to be covered because you're going to be placing your Memory Dex cards in there anyway. All right. So what's next? So what is next is to kind of find your center point of where your Memory Dex card is going to sit, because you want to place those dowels in the middle. So this is where you're going to take a pen or a pencil or marker, and you're just going to kind of mark out the spots of where your hole punches should be. So I'm just going to use a gold metallic marker. Actually, I'll use silver so it shows up a little bit better. So you're just kind of finding your center point, and you can measure it out as well if you'd like. But what you do want to do is make sure that your dots are high enough. Pardon me. So what you're going to do then is you're going to take your hole punch and you're going to slide your foam board piece right in there. Pardon me. And what you're going to want to do is make sure that you are punching your hole high enough. And you're just going to punch through and remove it. And you've got your one hole. And then you're just going to do the same. Oops. There you have it. So now you're just going to attach these pieces to the front and to the back. All right. You have your front and back pieces. You're going to be attaching them to the inside of your box. So again, you're just going to use your double-sided tape. This part is a section that you also want to make sure you have very secure. Now, the reason we do use the foam core board is to give a nice place for the dowels to rest and to make sure that they're in there tight and secure. Make sure that you get your double-sided tape under these punched out holes. So I'm using a lot of double-sided tape here, but I do just want to make sure that this is going to go into the box very securely. And for just the sake of making sure that it's secure, again, I'm going to add some glue in between the tape sections. And then we're going to place this on the interior back of our box, or the front, depending on where you want to start. And it should slide in slightly tight. And then you're just going to secure it right to the back of the box. Now, while it's in there, what I'm going to suggest that you do is take some of your glue and you're going to start to fill in those holes a little bit, just so the glue starts to get a little bit dry and a little bit tacky while you're waiting to put the dowels in. So I'm going to leave it down like this, just so the glue doesn't run out. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the very same thing to my next section. Now this one I pre-did, and you can see right here that I actually have my holes a little bit lower. Now, if you want your holes lower, it just means that your dowels are going to be angled a little bit, either to the front or the back, depending on how you want them. If you just want to level. Just put them in the same spot and just kind of make sure that you've pushed your hole punch in enough up into the section. There we have it. Now we're going to take this and glue it into that interior front section just by turning this around, placing right down to the bottom. And there you have your front and back where you're going to nest your dowels. So again, we have our glue there at the back. Now we're going to add our glue right into the front here. The back part is covering it, but yeah, you just want to fill in those holes a little bit. Not quite halfway full with glue. And you can just set it aside to let that start to dry. So now we're going to take our dowel sections and we're going to cut down our dowels. So my dowels have already been pre-measured, and they are 6 inches long, which is the length of your box. So I'm going to take I'm just using these snips here. It's pretty easy. You may use something else if you want. I'm just cutting right behind that line because it makes it a little bit more snug. So wherever your 6-inch line is, maybe just cut right behind it. And there we have our 2 6-inch dowel pieces. So we have our dowel pieces. All you're going to do is insert them into your box. And you can see this is where it's going to be a snug fit, and it'll stretch your box a little bit, but that's okay because you want these to be nice and tight. So you're gonna put that right into that back hole, and then you're just gonna slide it down. And then you can see it fits very snugly and firmly right in there. And same again, we're going to just put that down in there. And we've already got some glue in there. And there we have the interior dowel section of our little Memory Dex box. So here is our completed Memory Dex box, but let's see how it all works together. So let's pull out some of our Memory Dex cards and let's see how this actually works. So we're going to zoom this camera out a little bit more. So this is how it'll look. In this house, here's our little Mike Myers scary one, Love Family, and we're going to just insert that in there and look at that. Slides freely in there, nice and connected. And we can see in this house we love family. How about in this house we laughed often? And again, we're just going to slide that in there. And here we go. Now we've got 2 Memory Dex cards in there. In this house we live for scary movies. So we're going to just pop that in. And I like to just put them in on their side, so I just put them on an angle to make sure they go right. If you put them down straight down, they usually kind of get stuck and it'll start to bend. So what I like to do is put them on a side angle and then just turn them and they go in really nice. And in this house, we live for scary movies. So you can see how this is a wonderful little box to hold your projects together or to hold recipe cards or names and numbers of people. But let's be honest, we all have it in our phones. So a cute little way to store your projects. And again, if you want a spring look or a fun look, just change up your color palette and you've got something completely different. And let's just pretend this is a happy spring scene with flowers. So there you are. There is your Memory Dex Box tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it all goes together for you smoothly. I'm sure it will, because we've done this numerous times to make sure this box goes together perfect for you and that everything is nice and easy and snug. Thanks a lot.